Hello Anthony, I'm making a video for you to help you out with your no start or hard to start on your 190SL, and this is for 190SL Alfa and BMW owners, all the people that had these side draft Solexes on their cars. First of all, let's start off with let's say you can start the engine, start the car and rev it up, but it will not idle. As soon as you come down to idle, the engine dies, and that is most likely due to your idle jet, which is this guy right here. Screws in right here. All it does is screws all the way in. You snug it down with a screwdriver, not overly tight, just snug it down, and that's what controls your idle. And you've got, as you can see, you got a very teeny tiny hole. So what you're going to want to do is take this out and blow through it and see if you can get some fluid coming out of it. Just like this. Let's see if we can do this on camera without making a mess. Let's do it this way. Here we you can almost see it coming out the bottom. There we go. See a little jet coming out the bottom? All right. So you need fluid and or air coming out of there. And if you don't have it, you don't have idle. And all you do is clean it out, screw it back in, snug it down with a screwdriver, and that's it. So that's in case you lose idle. Now then, you are experiencing a hard to start situation, and I'm going to bet that is all. And that's right. You said backfire. So backfire means lean, means you're not getting enough fuel to support combustion, and the engine is telling you it's not happy, and that is going to be due to fuel starvation, and I'm sure it's coming from a lack of fuel into the accelerator pump circuit. You're going to need to take the float bowl cover off for this activity. So this is what your float bowl cover looks like, and you're going to disconnect the hose to the vent. This tube is a vent, it's not an overflow. And you're going to make sure you use 2 wrenches here to stabilize your fitting in the float bowl, and then you're going to unscrew the fuel line going into it. And your 4 bolts, 4 screws come off, and that lifts off. It comes off as one unit while you're here. Check your float height. You're going to want to use, you got a little half moon or a full circle right there, and you're going to use the top part of the circle as your reference point. And you get a ruler, and you want to see 39 to 40 millimeters at the top of this circle right there. So that should be right on the money, and that's checking your float height, and that's with the gasket in place. So now back to the fuel. Let's just discuss the path that the fuel takes. You've got a 2-part float bowl. This is the main part of the float bowl, which feeds fuel to your main jets, which are on the bottom right here. And they have very big holes in them. They seldom get clogged up. But what you want to do is look inside your float bowl to see what condition your bowl is in and what kind of fuel you've got in there. And you don't want to see anything but clear fuel in here. If you see black specks, those are that is the original lining inside your gas tank coming off in the form of like flecks of black paint. And if you see brownish, reddish brown, or beige looking sand, that's not dirt. That's not sand from the beach. That is rust, very fine particulate rust that's coming off from the inside of your gas tank. And both the black flecks and the rust need to be addressed. And what you need to do is remove your fuel tank sending unit and look inside the tank and see what the condition is inside your gas tank, because you need absolutely complete clean filtered fuel. Otherwise you're going to have run into other problems. Right now I think your problem is probably due to dried gasoline and maybe well, I think lack of fuel. I think it's we got to figure out where your fuel is stopped up. So this is the pathway the fuel takes. You've got this smaller float bowl in here. This is what supplies your accelerator pump circuit, and in the bottom there you've got a check valve, and all it is just a little ball inside there. There's no spring, no nothing. So if you have one of those check valves out, I'll get one. And if you shake it, you can actually hear the little ball inside. So if you shake it, well, anyway, it doesn't pick up on camera, but trust me, it shakes. There's a little ball in there, and that's it. So that ball, that could be stuck with fuel, and the fuel, if it's stuck there, that's one place to check. Now then, that fuel then comes out of this check valve and into your accelerator pump circuit. And this is what the accelerator pump circuit looks like on the bottom of the carburetor, and this is what it looks like in pieces. And so you've got the body, you've got a spring, you've got your diaphragm, and then the accelerator pump lever. And so this diaphragm could be old, it could be full of corrosion, which you can see right here. Depends on the kind of fuel and kinds of that you've been using, and also depends on the conditions of storage. And you could have corrosion inside here. Again, depends on the quality of the fuel. And so what happens is fuel comes through here. The check valve, when you've got a gasket right here as well. And then fuel is on this side here, and then when you hit the accelerator pump, the diaphragm shoots fuel into this center section right here, and as you can see, we got a hole inside here, down inside here, and that fuel goes through this channel right here and goes into this there's a check valve right here, and that check valve looks like this and should have a screen on it to help screen out particulate matter, and there's a ball inside there. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Anyway, there's a ball in there that should move around. So this is you've got your first place for something to clog up is right here. Next place for something to clog up is this check valve, which just screws in here. And that's all there is to that. Now the fuel then travels up this passageway here and comes out the top of the carburetor at this point. And what you're going to find inside here is this your discharge nozzle, accelerated pump discharge nozzle, and you've got, and this little fitting holds it in place with some gaskets. Now this is also a place where you can get a clog, and because this hole right here is super tiny, I don't even think a needle will go in there. Very, very tiny hole. And make sure this hole is not clogged. And then the next place you're going to check for a clog is your accelerator pump discharge nozzle. Again, a very, very tiny hole. You're just going to blow through there and make sure that fuel comes out of there. Just like that. And we'll see that in another minute in a further demonstration. So that's the pathway of the fuel. And you want to make sure that, let's see, make sure there's no leaks down here on the bottom. And this is what adjusts the accelerator pump discharge nozzle volume. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to check that real time with your carburetor in place and the float bowl removed. So it'll make this a lot easier for you to do well, this is what you can do with the carburetor in place. Float bowl cover is removed, and making sure we got fuel in the float bowl in the two-part chamber. Now I'm using test fluid so that you can see what's going on. And what you're going to do is, first things you can do without taking anything apart is to just operate the throttle. And what you're going to do is check to see if the fluid inside the chamber right there goes down. Because if that fluid's not going down, that means nothing's happening. And I've got my little test fitting right here that I'm going to show you in a minute. Well, actually, we'll do both at the same time because this is going to make a mess. All right, so I'm going to get the camera over here. Get it out of the line of fire because this is my discharge nozzle. Now, this is not how the discharge nozzle ordinarily looks. It looks like this, where it's down inside the throat of the carburetor, and you can see it coming out right there in the throat of the carburetor. So what I've done is made a test fitting so that you can actually see what's going on. So we gotta check the note the level right here of the fuel, which is when you take the, that's another thing to look for. When you have the fuel going in properly from the fuel pump, and then you remove your float bowl cover, the fuel in the chamber, in the float bowl right here, the fuel level should be up to this septum. So the fuel just right across the top, just right up to that septum right there. And when you accelerate, you're going to see, you should see this fuel level go down. And if you're looking inside the throat of the carburetor, you should be able to see this thing squirting. And this is what it looks like. Now notice how quickly the volume of fluid is going down. Now you see the volume of fluid is going down, and you also want to see a real strong, steady, needle-like spurt of fuel coming out of here. And I'm getting some air in here because I haven't bled it completely, but you can see it. See how nicely that is shooting out there? That's what it should look like. And you notice we've almost lost all of our fluid in there. So that's how quickly you should be able to see this operating. Now then, another thing that you can do is if you take this off, and so that if you can't look into the throat of the carburetor, you can take your needle off. Get our gasket out of there. You can take the discharge nozzle off. Let's put some more fluid in there. Fill it up with fluid. Now then, you'll be able to see the fluid right here bubbling up. See it bubbling up like that? That's another indication that this passageway is clear and you've got fuel where it's supposed to be going. So those are the basics to checking your fuel system after the car's been sitting for a long time and the fuel is probably dried out, or you have a minor little microscopic piece of dirt that is plugging some orifice someplace. And that's the basics. That should be enough to get you going. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Well, if there is, I'll leave it in the comments section. In terms of general cleaning things out from after sitting for a while, get yourself a can of B12 Chem Tool. That's what this looks like. Get some of that with your spray nozzle and pull your jets out. And you got a little teeny hole in here coming off to the side. You'll be able to see it. There's a hole down there that intersects with this passageway right here, which goes down to this passageway and some bypass bores in here and up inside here. And take your B12, put it down there to match up with the hole, and just spray the heck out of this thing. Just flood this thing with B12 to dissolve any residual dried out gasoline. The interesting thing about fresh gasoline will not dissolve old dried out gasoline. You need a very harsh chemical like B12. So don't get that on your paint or in your eyes, or if you get it on your skin, it'll burn a little bit. So that's you need to go ahead and clean everything out, and you certainly can blow some down there if you need to. Without the airlock off, you need the airlock off to be able to see what's going on inside here. And also I meant to say that if you can look inside the discharge nozzle down inside there, well, I don't. Okay, so this discharge nozzle right here, you want a steady stream of fuel to shoot right down the throat of that carburetor, right past everything else and right straight through to where it comes out the other side. If you got a good stream of fuel, you should be able to get you should be able to see the stream of fuel exit the carburetor and come out all the way, like about a half a foot out the back side, if you had the carburetor off the car. What else? That should be enough to get you going for the time being. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.